Hey there everybody, and welcome back to the show. As always, I'm your host, Justin Archer, aka The Posture Guy, your #1 source on pain, posture, and performance. And last week we were talking all about the importance of not confusing hip flexor tightness for hip flexor weakness. And it was a big hit. A lot of people wrote in saying thank you for helping explain this to them. They've been spending weeks, months, or years of their life trying to stretch out their tight hip flexors, only now to find out that their hip flexors feel tight, not because they're actually in a short and tight position, but because they're long and taut. And by strengthening either all their hip flexors or maybe just their psoas major, that it's fed slack to all their hip flexors, the psoas major, as well as the other hip flexors in the upper leg and thigh. So for all those that wrote in, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are getting a lot of use out of these video posts and out of the routine that I've been putting out. And today I wanted to kind of expand on that topic, and I wanted to kind of narrow it down more to athletes. Now, in the past, if you've been a regular viewer of the show, you've heard me categorize people into 3 conditions that people's postures fit into: 1, 2, and 3. And if you haven't heard this before, I'll link to a post called "What Condition Is Your Posture In?" or "What Condition Is Your Posture?", which you can watch at your convenience. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to be talking about condition 1. Now, how you know you're condition 1 right off the bat is if you're having anterior tilted pelvis. And that basically looks like from the side, you'll see the waistband of your pants, or if you're wearing a belt, it'll be tipped forward like that. You'll kind of notice like you have your butt stuck out, a lordotic or more than regular inward curve in your lower back. So that's the main thing. If you got this, you're definitely a condition 1. Now, a classic condition 1 person is going to have an anterior pelvic tilt. They're going to probably have a little bit of a knee flexion. Their knees and feet will turn outward. Let me do this facing you from the front. Knees and feet pointing outward to some degree. And then their upper back and shoulders will probably round forward like so, usually with their head. Okay? And they might actually have a little bit of flexion at the hips, so they may be leaning forward. Now, when you see someone, whether this is yourself in the mirror or you see a friend or family member with this posture, these people look the way they do because, well, like anybody, form follows function. They've either consciously or subconsciously, usually the latter, trained their body to be in that position. So this postural type, they're usually very strong people, and their muscles are in a short and tight position. So if they complain about things like tight hip flexors, then the traditional advice of, okay, do this stretch for them, do a lunge or pull your foot behind you and pull on it and all that stuff, that actually will help them because their muscles are short and tight, and feeding some slack to their body that way and loosening those muscles up, they're going to be able to get into a better organized, better postural position. But what I've noticed is, especially in the last month and a half, because I've had a slew of clients who are currently athletes or they were athletes at some point and are trying to get back into their sport, to their activity, but the pain is getting in their way, is they're athletes, they're tight, but they're not short and tight like that condition, that classic condition 1 I just showed you. They are long and taut, and as a result of that, they feel tight. And what I mean by long and taut is they'll still have that anterior pelvic tilt, so they're definitely a condition 1, but their hips are bailed forward, so they don't have that knee flexion. If anything, they might even have knee hyperextension. Their hips are way out in front of them, and their knees, instead of being bent and then pointed out, are usually straight, hyperextended, and then the knees actually point. I don't know if you can see my knees in the video here, but they're actually usually pointed inwards. The upper back could be the same too, because usually if the hips bail forward, then to keep from falling on their face, their upper body translates back, and then, so they don't fall backwards, their upper back, shoulders round, head goes forward, and you've got this type of thing. But their hips are way forward out here. So they'll tell me, yeah, my hip flexors are really tight, and this website or this doctor, this chiropractor said I need to stretch them. And I said, all right, well, let's slow down, put on the brakes here. And a great place now that I made the video I'll refer to is that video about confusing hip flexor tightness for weakness, because they're in this position and they want to stretch their hip flexors. And, I'm kind of thinking, well, why do you want to do that? You're in hip extension. Your hips are way out here. Your legs and the rest of your body is behind you. All that doing stretches like those deep lunges, which you feel that pull here or pulling on your leg is going to do, is put you further into extension and further into pain. I understand that temporarily, just by pulling on the muscles, you get a minute to a few minutes relief. But now we're just treating the symptom. We want to obviously treat the cause. That's why we're all here, right? So basically, you go from that classic condition 1, that short and tight, to here, that long and taut athletic position. And not only will I speak towards the importance of, okay, you got to get your hips back underneath of you, one, to get out of the pain, the symptoms that you're experiencing, but also to avoid having any type of injury, right? Because that's what all athletes, anybody, obviously wants to avoid is injury, but especially if you're doing a sport, an activity that you love, and an injury is going to sideline you, and then you're not going to be able to enjoy what you're passionate about. I know firsthand how that feels, and we all know it sucks. So you want to get your hips back underneath of you, as well as doing so is going to improve your athletic performance. Because I don't care if you're playing basketball, football, golf, whatever, try doing it with your hips out there. Or if you're this posture type, you probably already have. It's not any fun, right? You can't perform to your best ability and it hurts. Get your hips under here, and I don't care whatever your sport is, because we all move power from the ground, push off the ground through our hips to our extremities. Every sport, you have to have good hip position. So you want to get your hips back underneath of you. And stretching isn't going to do that. Stretching is going to actually just put your hips further out in front of you and cause more pain and hurt your performance on and off the field. So what we have to do is, or what you have to do, I got the easy job, right? I just tell you, is you want to strengthen your muscles. You want to strengthen all your glute muscles so that your knees, from pointing inward, point straight ahead. And you want to strengthen your hip flexors to pull your hips out of extension and into, we don't want to go flexion, I don't want you bent over like this, but we want to pull them back enough so that your hips are directly above your knees and ankles and directly under your shoulder and head. And that's going to give you a much better foundation to base whatever it is you're doing off of. Like I said, basketball, football, golf, whatever your sport or hobby may be. So to help you out with that, I've put a routine down below, which you can follow, and that's going to do all that. It's going to feed the strength, the stimulus you need to those muscles to get your hips back underneath of you. And as your hips come back underneath of you, that upper back, which was like this, well, the only reason it's in this position, your shoulders are rounded forward, maybe you have shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, upper back pain, is because it's compensating for your hips being out here. You get your hips back underneath of you, and everything else will just kind of realign on its own. All right? So check out that exercise routine, and if you have any questions along the way about how to do the exercises, or maybe if you look at some of the other posts, what condition you fall into, please don't hesitate to call or email me. That's what I'm here for. And if you happen to know anybody else who maybe is an athlete who may be in this long and taut state, or someone else who's in a short and tight state, send them this video and say, hey, I think this may help you if they're experiencing any pain. Or obviously, as any athlete, right, we just want to be able to perform the best that we can. So do me a favor, pass it on. I know anybody you pass this on to will appreciate you taking the time, send this to them, caring for them, and I know I appreciate it as well. All right? Anyways, thanks for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you inside the next video. Until then, take care and keep moving.